If you have ever fasted more than 3 days with no food, no water, if you have ever done that, then you probably know what he's talking about. Because after maybe 3, especially the 4th day of no food, no water and fasting and prayer, your mouth stops producing saliva. And your mouth begins to foam instead of producing saliva. And it becomes extremely difficult to talk. Your voice is hoarse. You'll need to swish your mouth with water so you can enunciate your words properly. Literally, your tongue becomes stiff. Your mouth becomes sticky. Your tongue literally begins to stick to the roof of your mouth. If you try to have a long conversation with somebody, you're going to accumulate foam in your mouth while you do it. It becomes sticky and stiff. I have experienced this personally myself. And we can say that what Christ went through was infinitely worse. He was on the brink of death by blood loss. He was on the brink of death by asphyxiation. He was on the brink of death by the sheer force of divine wrath. You can see that in Gethsemane when he fell under the wrath of God and experienced hematidrosis. He experienced the climax, an intensification of God's wrath when he was lifted up on the cross, which was the climax of the atonement. So at the latter part of his passion, in the 9th hour, it's truly impossible to fathom how thirsty he must have been. And you remember when he cried out, he said, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani?" He only made 2 cries. There were only 2 cries of the 7 utterances. The rest were loudly spoken words, but they weren't cries. There were only 2 cries, and this was one of them, which means that he spoke it with the full force of his lungs, which means that he cried it out as loud as he could so that as many as possible going down the decline of the hill and going along the highway would have heard it. Think about it. Think about the Son of God hanging on the cross, crying out as loud as he can, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani?" And what are the people